Biohybrid robots that are part fungi and part computer convert fungal electrical signals into digital commands, a promising advance in building more sustainable robots. All right, more sustainable robots. That seems fine, doesn't it? It seems good. But you get the point that, wait, what? Sustainable, okay, let me explain. Too much, let me sum up. Now here's the wild part. So researchers from Cornell University and the University of Florence have developed innovative biohybrid robots that integrate living king oyster mushrooms with robotic systems. This groundbreaking project leverages the electrical signals produced by the mushroom's mycelium, its root-like structure, to control the movements of robotic devices. Yeah, right? Okay, that seems fine. And interestingly, the mechanism of control, you know how I love that term, the mycelium can generate small electrical signals that function similarly to neural impulses in animals. Oh, kind of brain-like, right? By cultivating the mycelium onto a 3D printed scaffold embedded with electrodes, researchers were able to translate these signals into digital commands. This allows the robots to respond to environmental stimuli, such as ultraviolet light, which enhances the electrical activity of the mycelium and accelerates the robot's movements. Okay, so oddly enough, let's say the biorhythm of the space, or whatever this is, the mycelium network is always communicating with each other, and it's wild because we've talked about this in the past. It is sort of the network below the trees. There's a lot of really wild things that come about as part of it, including there's something called the mycelium mind, which we'll get to in a moment here. Back to the robots. So the types of robots developed were specifically this. They created two types of robots. Number one, a wheeled robot that can navigate flat surfaces. Seems fine, right? And then a soft-bodied robot with 5 limbs that mimics natural movement. And if you guys are watching the stream, I think we have pictures of these. There's the one robot with the legs, the 5 limbs, mimics natural movement. Both robots demonstrate the ability to twitch and move in response to the impulses from the mycelium, effectively allowing the fungus to control their actions. Yeah, right? This is fine. No problem. So we just took the actual fungal network, at least a part of it, put it into these robots, translated the electrical signals, and it became sentient. Ooh, is that too much? Too fast? Okay, so there's the one robot. I'll play the other. This is from Nico McCarty on Twitter X, and this is the other wheeled robot that is being controlled. You can see it driving. It's actually being controlled, yep, that's right, by a mycelium, by a neural network of sorts from the fungi kingdom. Yeah, right? Weird stuff. Now, what does this mean? Like I don't know. This is brand new. So potential applications for this. So, of course, environmental monitoring. Here's just a few kind of examples because this is in its infancy. We don't know how much this can scale or how weird this can get, or can we tap into this with our extrasensory perception or whatever that looks like, right? But so environmental monitoring. So their sensitivity to chemical pollutants and toxins could enhance agricultural practices is one thing they say. All right, this is mentioned in the article. Another thing is hazardous environments, okay? So fungi's resilience to extreme conditions such as radiation or salinity makes these robots suitable for tasks in challenging environments. Okay, that seems fine. And sustainable robotics, they're calling this, which is what? Using biological materials reduces the ecological footprint associated with traditional robotic systems, minimizing waste and environmental disruption. Well, all that's fine and well, but what about the creepiest part? That we've taken a mushroom, a mycelium network with the roots and all the stuff, and put it into these things, translated the electrical impulses, and it's steering robots. And maybe even going to be able to steer toward things it likes, a particular light source or whatever, right? So in the old days, the mycelium network was just sort of, underground, controlling the trees through the mycelium mind, kind of the quiet in the forest, kind of that as we've always talked about in the past, the actual Gaia hypothesis, or the resonant morphic resonance, these resonant fields, this type of stuff that is part of the larger context of Earth itself, in consciousness, even in the larger consciousness aspect. Because the last time we talked about the mycelium network, that was really what was chief among the conversation, was that, okay, so is the animal kingdom, the flora and the fauna, both sentient? And of course, you can easily make the case for animals, and that's probably a foregone conclusion. But what about the trees? What about the shrubs? What about the mushrooms? What about, well, now they're driving cars. So, right, we got the self-driving cars from Elon, and now we got mushrooms driving cars, at least this little robot car. And this is the science. But anyway, so what in the world do you see coming from this? Is this just some wild thing, or do you think that eventually we'll be able to communicate with this network, this network that is basically going to be worldwide in some cases? And it brings up the question again of consciousness being primary or not. And are we getting this possibly from the mycelium network itself, which again, not only Terence McKenna said through the stoned ape theory is responsible for human consciousness in an evolutionary capacity, and second, that the shamanic journey has long been associated with an awakening process of becoming more in tune with nature itself. And of course, tuning into higher frequencies as humans, okay? Weird, right? How all this kind of comes together in just one space, and now suddenly, robots? But not just robots, mushrooms driving the robot cars. Is that too weird? I don't know. Anyway, so that's what's on my mind tonight. Just some questions to get us going. This is incredibly weird. We'll get to the mycelial mind next. But there's a lot here, and it does, I got to tell you, it creeps me out just a little bit. Just a little bit, but that's okay, right? We're allowed to be creeped out just a little bit, but that's a part of troubled minds anyway. So yeah, how many fungal zombie diseases? Yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll have to inoculate the robots before they put the fungus in them. Anyway, so fungal frequencies. Now, weird, right? So we got now the mycelium network in small doses, of course, because they can't tap into the larger. Unless we can, maybe that's next. Who knows? Is it wireless? Is it not? There's a lot of things going on with the mycelium network, including this something called the mycelium mind. Okay, and we have talked about this in the past, and at least in the periphery. And we're going to get to stoned ape and the rest of that as well, because all of this seems to come together in this weird space when we talk about non-human intelligence. And recognize that usually when you hear that term, people think aliens, people think, all manner of things, maybe dimensional entities, or who knows what's going on with that. I don't really know, okay? By the way, a good time for all the disclaimers. I don't really know anything, by the way. I'm just throwing out wild ideas and trying to put pieces together through intuition, okay? So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. There's no truth to be found here. This is just a conversation about wild things on the cutting edge of science and, of course, and beyond, because I'm not a scientist, but I am a dreamer. So let's see what happens when you combine the two. So that's that. All the disclaimers do apply. If you're here and you're super mad because everything I've said to this point is inaccurate, you're in the wrong place. We're not doing science here. We're doing dreaming and what comes next. Okay, so anyway, now back to this. The odd part about this mycelium mind is this. So it refers to the concept of fungal consciousness, as I just described a little ways before we took the break there. So an intelligence exhibited by the mycelia, the thread-like networks of fungal cells that form the main body of a fungus. Yummy, right? Anybody like to eat fungus? Mushrooms in particular? Here are some key points about the mycelial mind. So 1, fungi can operate as individuals, make decisions, learn, and have short-term memory. This is from recent research suggestions. And they're still trying to get to the bottom of this because it's pretty creepy. The sensitivity and responsiveness of fungal hyphae is seen as evidence of consciousness at the cellular level. Okay, the plot thickens. When hyphae link into networks, this consciousness is elevated to the level of a multicellular organism. Okay, which gets even more strange when you think about how this fits together in the largest context, which means that are we dealing with, as we always talk about on Troubled Minds being the dreamers and the philosophy people and the looking into the past to sort of inform the future, that type of thing. Is it possible that this stuff is conscious and it is part of a larger sentient entity that is Gaia, that is the Gaia hypothesis and maybe the beating heart of that theory itself? And, a lot of, modern science has kind of laughed at the idea, but now suddenly we have mushrooms driving cars, or at least little robot cars, okay, which is incredibly strange. You get the point. But here's some other weird stuff about the actual mycelium network. So mycelium networks can transfer nutrients such as carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus between plants and trees. This isn't just passive. There's evidence suggesting that this network can act like a communication system where trees share resources with others, sometimes even favoring their kin, which we talked about last time we had the mushrooms on our mind. This has led to the idea that forests might function as superorganisms. Oh. Yeah, now we're talking, right? So problem-solving capabilities they're said to have as well. So a couple things you may not know about the mycelium network, which makes this incredibly strange because it seems like sentience when you start to break down all this wild stuff. So the problem-solving. So experiments have shown that mycelium can navigate mazes to find the shortest path to food, demonstrating a form of primitive intelligence or problem-solving ability. This showcases an adaptive behavior where the fungus optimizes for nutrient acquisition. Seems sentient to me, right? Bioremediation. So mycelium has the ability to break down pollutants. Some species can degrade heavy metals, pesticides, and even petroleum products. This makes them potential candidates for cleaning up environmental pollution, a process known as mycoremediation. I think that's how it's said. Big words. So some mycelial networks are among the largest and oldest living organisms on the planet. For instance, the Armillaria ostoye, the honey mushroom in Oregon's Malheur National Forest, covers over 2,200 acres, and it is estimated to be between 2,000 and 8,000 years old. Okay, I'll bookmark there. Now, when you look at all this stuff, and again, not just this is what we've known historically in the past, let's say 30 years, but also beyond that, of course, but then also the new science is like, okay, so can we take these mycelium and give them autonomy in some sense and allow them to move based on the robotics? And like I said, it does really bring to bear the idea of what a non-human intelligence actually is. Because what does it even mean to be non-human intelligent? Well, I think this definitely qualifies in my opinion, but others might say differently, or others might say not. And that's creepy, isn't it? And then so suddenly we can take these things and turn it into robots and use them to power robots. And here's where this gets even more strange. All right. Think of it this way. If we can take the actual electrical impulses from mycelium and drive these robots around, have them move based on the stimuli they get from their environment and move toward things or away from things in this very intelligent space that they seem to represent, then what are we doing here? Like, what is going on? And how far have we missed when it comes to what consciousness actually is? And the next thing, of course, comes with non-human intelligence in my mind is if we can do that, can we start to decode that electrical impulse from their larger neural mycelium network and maybe communicate with these things? You see what I'm saying? Through the new AI systems. Another non-human intelligence, by the way, these new AI systems, the black box model, we've talked about that quite a lot in the past. But that's some exciting stuff coming up in the next, probably 5 or 10 years. Because as you get these larger and larger data sets, specifically this 2,000 to 8,000 year old mycelial network in, was it Oregon? Yeah, Oregon's Malheur National Forest. Think about how probably, I don't know, ancient wisdom, how much ancient wisdom is embedded in the roots of these trees. I mean, strange, right? And this gets even more weird if we can start to decode those into something else, into possibly communication. Think in the most primitive sense, ... right? That whole bit of the original telegraph and Morse code and that type of thing. But imagine when we get these massive data sets from these old networks that are under the trees, have been there for thousands of years, what kind of ancient knowledge they might have that might be decoded and might be able to be shared with us. Now, of course, the question is, do you think any of that is possible? It may not be. Who knows? However, if we're talking about non-human intelligence and not just the mycelia and the mycelium network and all the rest of it, we're also looking at decoding animals. And so the animal speech, right? That whole thing. We're looking at these larger data sets of whales singing to each other and dogs barking. And suddenly I think it's going to open up a ton more things when we start to be able to kind of narrow these down with these AI systems. And like I said, as you know me, I'm more probably positive on the AI stuff at this point, but of course we haven't had a rogue AI escape yet that's wreaking havoc all over the globe, at least that we know of. At least that we know of. If you look at the last, 10 years, things have certainly gone off the rails a little bit. So I do wonder if maybe something like that is happening. But so the question becomes, lots of questions tonight. Number one, does this freak out? Does it freak out that suddenly we might be able to, in some capacity, not just use these fungi? Yeah, everybody's a fun guy. It's a fun guy tonight. The fungi and the mycelium networks, and turn them into drivers of cars or pilots of robots, or you see. But then the second part of this is, how weird does it get when are we able to possibly communicate with these things in some context? Because, well, that would be next, wouldn't it? That would be next. I see you, James. What's that? The Spore drive from Star Trek. Yeah. I'll get into that as well. I didn't even think of that. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Just doing what we do. And back to this. So here's the other part. We'll get to when we come back from the break at the bottom of the hour. I'll talk about the actual Terence McKenna stoned ape theory. We did do a whole show on that in the past, so I won't spend too much time on it. Just a little bit to revisit. But this is part of the deal that kind of fits into this whole bizarre context of everything regarding the mushrooms and the networks, and now suddenly this non-human intelligence and the AI systems possibly being able to tap into that. But of course, we know that mushrooms, by and large, not all of them, but there are some with psychoactive properties. Okay, this has been known for a long time. But think of it this way. So certain mycelium and mushrooms produce psychoactive compounds, okay, like psilocybin, which we've talked about a lot, which have been used for centuries in various cultures for spiritual and therapeutic purposes. Recent research has been exploring these compounds for treatments in mental health like depression and PTSD. Okay, weird, right? So suddenly we not only have sort of this shamanic journey of the human experience sort of meeting the divine through the psychoactive mushrooms, but then we also have, well, now they're going to be driving cars. Okay. Anyway, I digress a little bit there, but you get it. So there are other fungi that form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, where the mycelium provides the plant with minerals and water in exchange for sugars produced by photosynthesis. This relationship is ancient, believed to have helped plants colonize land over 400 million years ago. Now think about that. Now, what kind of life do you think still exists from millions of years ago, and even hundreds of millions? Maybe nothing, right? But what if deep down in the very, very dark forest, hundreds of feet beneath our feet, see what I did there, maybe a life exists that has more knowledge than we could ever dream of? The earth itself. Is it real? Seem real? Seem ridiculous? I have no idea. Yeah. What's up? Shout out to Joey's fiance. What's up, Morgan? Here we go. More Trouble Minds coming up. Going to take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor here, and we'll be right back. But look, actually, no word from our sponsor. We've got a song coming up. But there's a lot of things happening with this, and as you know, with me, I don't know the answers. What I do know is this might change everything. And how far does this technology go? And that's exactly the point. What do you know about it? Does this freak you out that we have mycelial network, mushrooms driving cars and operating robots? Or is this just some weird thing that'll come and go as part of a, well, I don't know, will it be memory hold?